Hello, it is your favorite internet bestie, or I'm sorry, your favorite faceless internet bestie. And I'm coming to you about a video today about affirmations. I love affirmations. We are constantly affirming. You can't help but to affirm, whether you're affirming it's so quote unquote negative things or positive things, it really doesn't matter. You're constantly doing it. It's just like manifesting. Manifesting is not a thing because you're constantly doing it. It is already, right? You don't have to try to get anything. That is the entire premise of really what started my journey, is because I don't think that you should have to struggle. I think struggle is natural. I think struggling with things does come naturally, but you don't have to suffer through your struggling. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. You don't have to suffer through your struggling. You're doing that to yourself. And you're not doing it. I say that in every video, and I will continue to say that because that is the core of really what I'm trying to drive home here, is that you aren't doing it. And yet it appears that you are, and that you can do something about it. So we'll talk about it. And today, we're going to talk about affirmations. I love affirming into myself. I feel like, like I said with y'all, I've said it in the first video, like I suffered from depression and stuff before, and I'm no longer suffering through my depression. I know that there is a world where that is still happening, that is still existing right now simultaneously. I am just not aware of it because that is not what I am perceiving. Do I think that it could happen to fall back into that space? Absolutely. It wouldn't even take a lot, probably, but I would catch myself. Like I know. Knowing is an interesting thing, and that is all affirmations are. It's just something that you believe that you know, that you are telling yourself over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So when people talk about robotic affirming, because I see that a lot in like the law of attraction, law of assumption communities, where people talk about robotic affirmations. I don't think nothing's wrong with that, and I do think that over time it would eventually help you. I mean, when I say that it would help you, I think it shifts a perspective, like when to like robotically affirm for the things that you want. I I don't know if for some people that would work though. Because I imagine, like for me, I mean, for things you don't care about, it would be easy. Like I saw that I can't remember her last name. I know her first name is like Taylor or Tay something. I think it's Tokes or Tukes. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry. But she has this video about manifesting a line green card, and that is kind of what triggered the whole affirmation thing for me, because there was a video that she did, or actually no, I had watched a Sammy Ingram video about robotic affirming. It was like a robotic affirming challenge. She did it like I want to say it was like 3 years ago, maybe. I don't know. It was a while ago. It was like one of the first affirmation challenges that she had ever done, and I might have seen it on Facebook. No, it wasn't on Facebook. It definitely was on YouTube, because I haven't had a Facebook in like 10 years, or coming up close to 10 years. So I know it was definitely on YouTube, but it was a really long time ago. It was like, if you know who Sammy is, it was before she had the different backgrounds and everything. So it's like, I mean, she's always had those backgrounds, but like it was in the old house, girl. I'm talking a long time ago. But I saw that video, and then I saw this video that Taylor did, where she was like, start with something small. You know, the Abraham world is always like manifest a cup of coffee and blah 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 blah. And the Neville people who've done the ladder trick, I did that, by the way, and it actually worked for me. But yeah, there was this video that she did, and she was talking about manifesting a lime green car, just a sea lime green car. And I thought, that's kind of silly, but okay. I don't have any qualms about a lime green car. I don't care. And so I came out of this meditation and I thought, I'll just do it. I'll just affirm for a lime green card. And so I told myself, I see a lime green card every day. And then I started to overthink it because I am an overthinker. I'm very analytical. I'm very logical. I was like, what a random thing. Like, where am I going to see that? I live in a neighborhood that's like upper middle class around a bunch of elderly white people. They're not going to be driving around in lime green cars. And I kid you not, 2 seconds later, lime green Charger right in front of my face. I say that to say you don't have to believe necessarily that something will happen for you for that thing to happen for you. The universe is so random that way. Like, whatever this is so random like that. There are things that you just genuinely don't care about that seem easy and quick. And then there are things where if you've told yourself that this is harder to get and this is more complicated and I'm not going to be able to have this thing, then it seems to take longer. It seems to take like 10 million times affirming into it, or 10,000 times affirming into it. None of it is really necessary. And we never really know if that thing was it is already. So that was already happening. The only thing that you're doing is shifting into a perspective that allows that. Like, to me anyways, like, if I wouldn't have affirmed for a lime green car, would it have shown up that day? Probably. Maybe not. Probably. Because it was already in the work. Would I have known it? Would I have noticed it? Was a totally different story. So in that aspect, I do think affirmations are important. I do think that you should consciously affirm into yourself just because it seems to be healthier. It's something feels healthier about affirming that I am amazing and I am loved and I am safe and protected and I always get what I want, as opposed to shit never works for me. Everybody hates me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they feel different. It's very interesting. So yes, affirmations work. Anybody that tells you that they don't work is probably affirming that. Because, like I said, we all live in our own little bubbles, our own little closed loop of reality. But I do think that you should, especially if you're consciously, trying to create something, whether it be something completely out of the blue and you use a manifestation, or something like you feel like you need to work really hard at and you can logically and tangibly, like, I'm going to work and do these steps and I create this process for myself. There really are no processes at all. By the time you've had the idea to do something, it's already in the works. The only thing that is assisting it or preventing it is really you. And I think affirmations help with that. And so yes, you should affirm into yourself, especially consciously affirming if you're consciously trying to create something. The person is illusory though. So take that with a grain of salt that you are consciously creating something, because an illusion cannot create, right? So like I said, it was already there. It's already in the works. These processes or tools or techniques are just something that the person does because we believe in processes. We believe in processes because we believe in time and space. If there is no perception or conception of time and space, we wouldn't call it affirming. We wouldn't call it affirming. It would just be speaking it into existence. That is all you're doing. At the end of the day, it's so simple. Everything is way easier than you think. Don't complicate it. Be good to yourself. Be good to other people. It won't kill you to be nice. If you can't be nice, shut the fuck up. It's very simple. When you can't shut the fuck up, know that you're not doing it. Don't be an asshole. Like, life is really not complicated at all. It's really, really simple, and yet so impossible to explain. Which is why if I was trying to explain these things from just like the self inquiry or law of assumption, law of attraction perspective, it would be very easy. I would tell you just you're doing it, you're affirming into yourself, say these things to yourself, things will get better. But and that is how life works, but it's also not how life works for some people. So yeah, be aware of what you think. I personally think that if you are consciously like, you believe that you're doing this, creating this for yourself, if you are consciously doing that, then you will need to really analyze your thoughts. I wouldn't spend a lot of time doing it. I wouldn't focus on it too much because I did do that at the beginning and it's just not helpful. I think you kind of have to just live your life and as it arises, because things always arise apparently and they constantly appear. And when that happens, acknowledge them. Really kind of like in those moments. And don't spend a lot of time on it either. It's not going to take you like 12 million years to tell yourself something before it happens. You just, when it arises, observe it, change the perspective. That's what the self-inquiry kids are talking about. That's what the law of attraction kids are talking about, the non-duality. They're all saying the same things. You can't help but to affirm. It is a natural order of things. It is the natural process of things. It's autonomous. You're not doing it. You're not making your heart beat. You're not making your brain function. These things are all autonomous. Like they're all autonomous. So for you to analyze, logically look at things is also autonomous. It's also the nature of reality. And that the way you speak to yourself, because something about, especially before, like, you can call it living in a different timeline, or before a quantum jump, or before I've shifted my reality, whatever you call it. Call it whatever you want. I don't know how to explain it, but before all that stuff happened, just really, I write a lot, especially like poetry and stuff like that. I've actually written a couple of poetry books through Amazon. I actually took them all away. Not all of them. There is one that's still out there, and it's kind of based around the non-dual. Like when I first really got into like non. It sounds weird to say I got into it. That's not what happened, but it appears that that's what happened. And so a lot of my like the only poetry book that's like left out in the world for the world to see is based around kind of what was happening in that time period. Anybody that writes, especially like poetry and stuff, you typically do write about what you're going through and in that time period. And so and I had this like obsession with Rumi, and so that's another story for another day. But yes, affirm into yourself. That I was getting sidetracked. Affirm into yourself. Speak good things to yourself. Speak life. Into things. That's what you're doing every single day. Even if you never open your mouth, that's what's happening. Because the reality of the person, is a closed loop of whatever they see. And every single perspective is making up the whole. So, if it's heard, it's heard. It's all autonomous. There's no one doing it. It's so natural. Be nice to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Because apparently, in the dream, it helps.